Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pitching to Hollywood panel. I'm going to move this. Thank you. Yes. Hi. Welcome to the Pitching to Hollywood panel. I'm the moderator, Doug Eboch. I'm a screenwriter, probably best known for writing Sweet Home Alabama. I've written novels and plays and short stories, bunches of things. And also a book called The Hollywood Pitching Bible that I co-wrote with a producer, which is all about the topic that we're doing today, pitching. So if you like this, find the book on Amazon or the writer's store, somewhere like that. So, and my panelists we have here, to my left is Mae Catt. She's an animation screenwriter who has worked on several Transformers shows.
Yes.
As well as the very cool Legend of Vox Machina, which is streaming on Amazon. Anything else you want to add? Or?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And then next to her is Spiro Skentzos, who has written and been involved in over 100 episodes of TV in the hour-long and half-hour spaces. He co-created the web series Chatham based on the work of the Bay Area graffiti artist. In addition to writing for George Lopez's show in the comedy space, he's also written for such genre faves as Grimm and Arrow. And since we're talking about pitching, he has pitched to Fox, Apple, and other studios and networks. He has sold 3 pilots and developed several others with producers and IP holders. So, pitching a lot. Yay. And then on the end there we have Shireen Razack, South Asian, Trinidadian, Canadian, Muslim American drama writer with an affinity for science fiction and fantasy and supernatural stories steeped in social justice allegory. She's an alum of the CBS Writers Mentoring Program and now has over 15 years of TV writing experience in multiple genres. Most recently, she was the co-executive producer on Vampire Academy on Peacock. She is also a co-founder of the Think Tank for Inclusion and Equity, and a member of the board of directors for the Writers Guild Foundation. So, all right, so I think maybe a good place to start, because there's a lot to talk about, but kind of what is a pitch? I mean, I know you probably have some idea of what a pitch is, but probably there's a lot of different kinds of pitches, and the two that everybody probably knows about is the infamous elevator pitch. The idea being that if you get on an elevator with Steven Spielberg, you have like 30 seconds to pitch him your idea. Do not pitch him your idea on an elevator. That won't go well for you.
Also, he's not in the same elevator you are.
Yeah. There is a Steven Spielberg cosplayer right now. He's cosplaying Steven Spielberg on the set of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's hilarious.
That's great.
We should go pitch him, actually.
Yeah, try to lure him into the elevator. Yeah. It'll guaranteed sale. So that is one kind of. Now, I personally, and I'll ask you guys what you think, but personally I like to think of those as party pitches because that's actually the more likely scenario. Party for any kind of social networking industry event that someone might ask you what you're working on and you want to pitch something very briefly and not do it 20 minutes because they don't want that at a party. The other kind of pitch would be obviously the very formal, you get a meeting to pitch an idea or to pitch on a project, something like that.
We're talking about today? That's what we're talking about today is the bigger one?
Probably the bigger one. We'll talk about bigger formal pitches. We could talk about party pitches too. But what other kinds of pitches or variations on pitches are there?
Oh, gosh, being in animation, I've gotten to pitch on things that are between, I've been asked to take a 25-minute pitch. Can we get it down to 15 minutes? Like we get very when you're refining a pitch, sometimes you're going to get very granular with it. But yeah, it's good to have the 5-minute version, the party version, and then the full version, I think, at your disposal. And look, you're gonna if you truly are dedicating yourself to a pitch, you're gonna know it inside out to be able to do those different variations on it.
The other two I would say are the take pitch, and then something that feels like you do this a lot. It's called bite-sized pitching, which
I do.
It's when you have a general with a studio and you kind of turn it into a development meeting by bite-sized pitching your ideas.
Yeah, I think that is probably a category of pitching that maybe doesn't get talked about as much, but the general meeting. So if you don't know, a general meeting is when they've seen something you like and you get a chance to come in and meet them, and it's supposed to be just get to know you, and then they ask you, well, what are you working on, or tell us an idea. And
none of these pitches are, in general, are easy. And the shorter, the more brief they are, the harder they are. If anyone has ever tried to like take a 2-page document and shrink it down to like, in thesis, this is what it is in one sentence, it's really hard. It's all about being succinct, cutting away things that they don't need to know right now. If we're talking about like you're pitching yourself, like I'm the type of writer who likes to write blah blah blah, or you're in a meeting, you're like, oh, by the way, I'm working on this thing about a dog in space and he's the final astronaut, like whatever. You want to be really succinct with those, and it's really, I find it incredibly challenging, because you're used to be like, I got 60 pages, I'm going to write a script. So that's something just to be aware of.
Yeah, had I known so much of screenwriting was actually summarizing and being good at summarizing, I would have put more effort into that earlier, honing that skill.
yeah, and I think one little tip I can maybe offer that's could be valuable for younger writers is if you go into this, you get a general meeting and your agent says they don't want to hear a pitch, they just want to meet you, prepare a pitch. Because they will always ask what you're working on, and then you're like, wait, I was told I didn't have to have an answer to that question, so have an answer. And sometimes, that'll go well. Shireen, do you want to define the take pitch a little bit?
The take pitch is usually when a studio has what's called an open writing assignment, an OWA. And so they're asking multiple writers to come in and do a take on the IP. And so it's not a full-blown pitch. They want an idea of what you might do with it if they awarded you the writing assignment. So it can be 10 to 15 minutes. So you don't go into excruciating detail, but enough detail to let them know what unique way you would take, what unique thing that you would do with the IP.
About that pitch, it'd be great to talk a little bit more, I think, for a second, just about the type of work that goes into a 10-minute pitch, because it is free. Like you're coming to pitch them something which they own, so you cannot do anything else with it, and you're expected to pitch something like, oh, hey, just give us your take on that, 10, 15 minutes, but like it takes you days to come up with that.
Yeah, I mean, a take pitch that I did recently, I came up with like 4 seasons worth of ideas, and then I had to summarize that as quickly as possible. So what I ended up doing was telling them the first season, then said, and then this will obviously go into, this will carry into season 2, which will do something to season 3, which will do something to season 4, but just very, very quickly.
I'll also say much thanks to a lot of effort from the Animation Guild, which is not a part of the WGA, but they do very similar things, obviously. But the Animation Guild has made it so if you are pitching on an IP you do not own, you do get hours for that work and you do get a little bit of pay. Is it a lot? No. Should it be more? Yes. But it's something.
It is something. That's great, because there's not a lot of that. The Writers Guild still is always like, can we get paid to pitch stuff? And it's really hard to find.
And I find pitching so, listen, I can't summarize. I already admitted that. I find pitching so difficult, and there's so much time that gets put into it. And to do it for free is really hard.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about that happened to me, about the kind of pressure of the business. Is I got a call from my agent on Friday before Christmas week. Christmas is like the next Wednesday. I got a call on Friday saying a company run by a famous movie star, which I won't name, but they have a book they need adapted. They want to meet you on Monday for that. And I said, well, how long is the book? And they said 400 pages. And I was like, okay, let me cancel my flight home for Christmas and get to work. And then of course they pushed the meeting till after Christmas on Monday. But that's the thing is like, yeah, we're sending you a 400-page book, and you've got to be on Monday ready to explain how you're going to turn that into a movie. So it can be a lot of work, and it can be a lot of work very quickly, but in a way it's a good thing in those scenarios because they're obviously committed to something. Although maybe they weren't that committed since they pushed the meeting. But,
First question I usually ask is, when they say 400 pages, is there coverage? Please send me the coverage.
Yeah, I have also had the thing of getting a text from a producer late on a Monday saying, we need to rewrite by Friday. Can you come in tomorrow with a take of a script? And I'm always like, send me it right now, because that's not a lot of time. So I'm known for being fast, which is a good thing in the business, but sometimes they push their luck.
A gift and a curse.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's talk a little bit. So Mae has already mentioned, summarizing is a big thing. Let's talk about. Well, let's just start with how do you start your pitches? And you guys, or maybe you guys have heard the term personal connection. Does everybody do that? Start with a personal connection?
Sure.
Yeah, I made notes. I have some notes to share about personal connection.
Ooh, look at that.
First of all, your personal connection is why you're excited about the piece, but you're not a salesman, a saleswoman, a salesperson. You're there to sit down and be like, I'm so excited about this story. I want to tell you about it. And here's my idea for a take on your IP, or here's my original idea, God forbid. And I'm excited to talk to you about it. Usually you'll go in with a producer if you're going to pitch to a studio or network, so let them be the salesperson for you. Like, oh, this person's running these shows, and they got such a killer idea, it'll be great on your network and everything. Like, let them do that. You come in and you're like, I'm so excited about this. When I was 5, my dad went out for cigarettes and he never came back. And whatever that personal connection is. And often, if it is a story, if it's a sadder aspect of your life, you kind of want to buffer that with something positive, because executives get sad, and you want to leave them with the story of this really messed up thing happened to me, and here's what I did with it, and this is why I'm writing the story. And your enthusiasm for storytelling, your enthusiasm to be talking to them, goes so far. It just goes so far. It's the best thing you can bring, I think, to a pitch. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that's a big deal.
It's my least favorite part of the pitch to write.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a writer. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking about myself. I don't want to tell you why I'm the greatest person to tell this story. But you have to tell them why you are why you are uniquely positioned to tell this story. And keep it succinct, but also elaborate enough to make, you're going to hear this a lot, to make them lean in, make them think that you are the expert, make them think that nobody else can tell this story but you.
Yeah, totally. I would say I can be an extrovert for about an hour, which is about as long as a general, so it works out in that way. But I love the personal connection, and I think for me, it's because I particularly in animation, this is true of all of Hollywood, but particularly in my career, I've worked with a lot of long-standing IPs. Transformers is something that's 40 years old. It's older than I am. And I think part of the fun of pitching on something like that is to be able to be I know this thing means a lot to a lot of people. Here's why it means so much to me. And I think that gets a very positive response usually from the people you're pitching to. They are obviously sussing out, they're going to listen to the rest of the pitch, and they're going to suss out whether or not you're telling a good story and if you're capable of telling a good story. But I always find the personal connection a fun little challenge to be can I tell you something that you'll remember after you've heard 10 different pitches? So I enjoy it in that way. Yeah.
I'll tell you the piece of it that made me kind of love the personal connection was because when I went to USC Film School, and when I graduated, and yeah, USC in the house. So when I graduated, I got an agent relatively quickly. Don't want to make that sound easy, but I got lucky a little bit. And then the first thing that happened is he sent me out on all these meetings, and I had to pitch a lot of general meetings, but I had never done a pitch in school, never heard a pitch. I didn't really know what I was doing. And so when they would say something like, well, so tell us your idea or tell us what you're working on, I would get this real bad stage fright kind of the spotlight just went on me. And what I found with the personal connection was a great way to kind of ease myself into the actual pitch by just saying well, so this, whatever personal connection was, I had this experience and that kind of led me to this idea. It'd be a little longer than that usually, but it was a way to kind of make it more of I'm just telling you a story, and even though it's going to be fictional, it's kind of my story. And that made it relaxed me a little bit. So that's when I kind of learned to love it. And I think maybe one thing people get the wrong idea sometimes about personal connection. It doesn't always have to be autobiographical. A little bit like Mae was just saying of like why she loves Transformers. Like your take on something or your unique perspective on something can be the personal connection, just something that's you and what you're bringing to this story. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question? How you all handle like log lines in the pitch?
Badly.
Because I try to do like off of what you were just saying, get comfortable telling your story, and then like I'm naturally trying to get them into the log line without being like, my log line is, and just kind of like build it into the matrix of like who you are and why you're telling the story.
I usually go introduction, premise, and then personal connection is how I usually like to do it. Introduction just being like, my name is Mae Catt, thank you so much, I'm really excited to be here. And then I call it premise just because I actually can't write log lines. Log lines being like 1 to 2 sentences. Like when I can get something down to that, it's a really good day and I pour myself a drink and congratulations. But it rarely happens. And so I kind of give myself a little premise, 3 to 4 sentences, back into, let me give you sort of the, similar to a log line, the broad strokes of what this story is, and now let me tell you why it's really important to me, is kind of how I do it. Try to get it out of the way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
My trick is go in with the producer and let them do it and then pass it to me. Or recently it was I went in to pitch something off of a general, and so I was like, so last time we met, I briefly pitched you this idea, blah, 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 blah. So let me get into it, really into it now.
Yeah, because they'll forget. That's, they have a lot of meetings. You probably.
But I feel like there's no wrong way, like any of the things that we're talking about up here. Like you may start the why me first, or you may have to do your world building first if it's a big sci-fi thing, and then you would be like, the log line, me, and then go into the pitch. There's no wrong way, but the one thing that you need to do is engage. Like you need to engage with them. And it's really easy to do, like tell your personal story like Doug was saying and get comfortable, because like executives, like I know we rag on them from time to time, but they are your champion. They can be your champion, and they sit in these horrible meetings all day long with other executives in different departments and cross-department meetings, and it's meeting after meeting, and then they're like, oh, I have a pitch this afternoon. They're dying for that pitch. Like they're dying for someone to entertain them because they've been sitting around looking at staffing charts and productivity charts all day long, I guarantee you. And if you go in there, either general meeting or for pitch specific, and you're charming and you're excited and you're earnest, like you'll make their day. And even if they don't buy the pitch, they'll be like, you are awesome, I'm going to keep you in mind for something in the future, and that's a win.
Yeah, I'll also piggyback off of that. Whatever you need to do to be comfortable in the pitch, do it. Because, they know we're introverted weirdos. They know. A lot of them tried to be writers and are now development execs or are making the switch other ways. But, I, for example, thought you have to memorize the pitch, and I bombed a lot of in-person pitches. And then in a post-COVID world where most of these pitches are now being done over Zoom, I just straight up say hey, I have written down a script for myself and I'm going to read it. If it looks like I'm reading, that's what I'm reading. And it's made my life so much easier because now I don't have to be thinking God, what did I write down? I can just perform the thing I have already written. And honestly, they're all for whatever you need to do. If that includes index cards, if that includes having a producer take over some of it, if that includes just even having images to go along with what you're saying, whatever you need to do to make yourself the best version to engage and pitch with someone, do it. And they'll be grateful, you'll be grateful. It will make the pitch so much easier for everybody.
So you prefer the Zoom pitches now?
Listen, if I did an in-person pitch, I would print it out. I would print it out and just be let me perform this in front of you. Yeah.
And I think that's maybe an important, I don't know if we're going back to in-person pitches ever. I don't know.
Dude, I haven't done one yet.
Yeah, it's all on Zoom now, really. But, I always brought usually a sheet of paper which has bullet points because I just needed to kind of make sure I didn't skip a section or something. I didn't really need it all written out. Nobody ever looked at me strange for having that. It's okay to have notes. They want you to be good. They don't really care.
It's not okay to read your notes like this.
No. Yeah.
But it's okay to like be engaging, looking down at the next beat, be engaging, looking down.
I wanted to kind of build in kind of two ways off of what Spiro was saying about, do whatever works for you. I think it's also useful to think about like what is the purpose of the thing you're doing. So, some pitches like at a party or at a general might be just to get them to read an already written screenplay, right? Or like a pitch fest. They're probably not buying an idea at a pitch fest or at a party, but they might say, oh, that sounds interesting, I want to read that, or to get a meeting. So that's not the bar exactly, but so you don't get deep into plot if the goal is to just get them to read the screenplay, because they'll find that out in the screenplay. If you're coming in with a take on IP or on a project that needs a rewrite or something, now they want to know everything. They want you to have it really figured out and that you know what you're doing. So that's worth keeping in mind. And for the logline question, for me, I like the logline. I do the logline generally right after the personal connection, partly because I feel like I do that in exercise, which I think is useful, putting myself in their shoes and thinking okay, you're walking in. My agent might have told them the logline of the project ahead of time, but not if it's a general. They don't know what I'm going to talk about. So there's a little get to know you, and then it's I'm launching into something, and if I spend 10 minutes on world building, they're probably sitting there going what is this story? What is this movie? So I feel like the logline buys you some grace with that stuff or time because it's let me just explain to you what I'm doing. And I'm very, I say the genre, potentially say the rating for a movie, and I just want to say this is a story about this person doing this thing. Then I can have time to world build, I can have time to do character, and they know what I'm talking about. So I find an early log-on is useful in that way for myself, just so that I kind of put them at ease a little bit. Anything else about building the pitch?
Are we doing? Someone has a hand up.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess we can do it throughout. I don't think that'll go crazy. So go ahead.
I was just curious. Sorry if you covered this already. Are you all agented? Are you all have agents? And if so, what's the best way to pitch agents?
Oh, pitch to agents.
Yeah.
So myself, I'm currently just represented by a manager and 3 lawyers. Don't ask me why 3, but so a manager really is my representation. I don't have an agent right now. It's hard to get agents right now, and especially for writers, and agents kind of seem a little bit, I don't want to say useless, but a lot less useful than they once were. They don't do a whole lot. Managers tend to do more for you as a writer, except negotiate. They do that.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, how to pitch yourself to an agent or how to pitch your agent your new idea?
Yeah, basically pitching to get a manager or
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say this, just to clarify, I like to think of managers more like life coaches. My manager and I are friends. We've gone camping together. I would never do such a thing with my agent. And every time I think I might move on from my agent, he comes out of the woodwork like Rambo to be here's a really good opportunity. And I'm oh God. But I'll say my manager more like a life coach. He feels a little bit more on my team. He and I can bounce ideas off of each other. The agent is I have a script, here you go. And my agent's very good at putting a package together. He's over at UTA, so obviously he will go within UTA to be can we get a director, can we get actors? So he's very good at that. I'll say how one gets these things is going to be different and unique every time. Unfortunately, the way I got my representation cannot be replicated. It really was straight out of college and just one of my teachers really believing in me and handing it off to a producer who handed it off to an agent, and then that's what happened. I would say it helps to have a completed script when you're looking for reps versus pitching them something. Just because, a professional pitch is very difficult to accomplish. However, anybody can walk up to an agent and just be I have an idea. So at that point, I would encourage you to have some sort of physical, as if you printed it out, but a completed script, be it a pilot, animated, live action, a feature, whatever, but an example of not only can I talk the talk, I can walk the walk. Here it is. Yeah.
You might also think of cold calling or cold emailing them, which the cold emails go into some vortex and you never see them again most of the time, but you never know. An assistant might pick up the email. It's great if especially if you live in the Los Angeles area, to meet people who are PAs, are assistants at the agencies or elsewhere, to get involved in some of the local writer groups, which for free, where you can go to writer meetups and stuff like that, so you can start building that network, because it's really hard to get an agent. The answer I used to give is like, try to get a manager first, because those are easier to get. But now it's almost hard to get a manager since the pandemic and since the contraction. A lot of people have like cut back on a lot of their clients. You know, like, if you didn't make us $500,000 this year, then we're not going to keep you, type of thing. I have a manager, I have a lawyer. Manager sends me out, work with stuff with my manager. I'm kind of anti-agent for a while now. I just, like Doug said, I don't know what they do all the time, but it is something that one needs at some point in their life. And the more people you have working for you, the better off your chances are of getting something sold. So it really is about going to events like this, going to the Austin Film Festival, going where agents and managers also go, to any chance you can get to meet them.
Plus, if you make friends with an assistant, they might become an agent or manager eventually and remember you. Like, it truly is who you know. And I know that sucks as an answer, but it's true.
And that actually is, please correct me if anybody has an alternative view, because I would love to know, but I think everybody I know that has an agent or has ever had an agent got it from a referral. Yeah. So like, someone told the agent, this person's really good, you should read their script. So that's the networking piece of it, right? Like,
yeah, both instances for me, it was producers who handed it off to agents they knew, and producers who weren't even at the time looking to produce anything, but liked my material, sent it off to other people who also responded well. Yeah,
I've had 3 agents over my career, and 2 of them were that, and 1 was my manager found me an agent. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was like referrals. So,
there's also network programs that you can apply for, and they will sometimes help you. They'll introduce you to agents and managers, and if they like your stuff, then a lot of agents and managers go through those programs to find new voices.
Can you elaborate on those programs?
It's hard to say which ones still exist.
Like the network programs, like Rise and
Yeah.
Verge and stuff?
So I know Warner Brothers still has theirs.
CBS, I think, still has theirs, and NBC's is now called Launchpad.
Yeah. And Disney still has theirs, yeah.
yeah. Oh, Humanitas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
there's like
Humanitas is a great one. I can't believe I
Yeah.
forgot that. I'm working with them right now.
And the Writers Guild Foundation has a veterans program, if anybody here is a veteran.
I see Spider-Man back there. Has had his hand up?
If you are making if you're doing the fundraising route, and you're doing something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, what's the right information to have in the pitch deck if you're going with the fundraising?
So there's so you mentioned Indiegogo and Kickstarter, which is different than going after, financiers, because you're basically going after general public, I guess, in a sense, or crowdfunding the crowd. So I would say the answer is going to be different for the crowdfunding route, where probably it's going to be your personal story. I feel like, I don't know, I've never really, I did one Kickstarter for a short film, but like, it was mostly friends and family that gave me money.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this a short film or a comic or a feature?
It's a
web series. I kind of feel like your story and why this is important to you is what ends up selling to strangers on those sites, like people that connect with the topic, whatever it is, or connect with your individual story and want to help you. I feel like but again, I'm not an expert in that. But yeah, kind of what I've heard with crowdfunding is it's like really people invest in the artist more than the particular project. So emphasizing that. If you're going after real financiers, then you're going to need to have distribution plan. You're going to have budget that's like a serious budget, not just something you kind of napkined, back of a napkin kind of budget. So because they want to see what their return is going to be, how they're going to get paid out. Focuses a little more on that. Cast is going to be big. So it gets a little more complicated. I mean, some pitch decks are really just like visual stuff that kind of backs up the story. I feel like most pitches, really what they want from we're talking mostly writer because most of us are writers, but also that's where it starts, right? So I feel like they really just want the writer to tell them a good story. And it's so easy to create visual pitch decks today. Everybody's doing it, but like I don't actually think it makes that much difference ultimately. They want to hear the good story, and the art is just kind of like bonus. Do you disagree? Tell me I'm doing it wrong.
I'll just disagree for animation purely just because,
sure.
yeah, exactly. You're going to need to back that up with more visuals. But usually, in my experience, I've been connected with an artist on animated pitches. So usually I will be writing the pitch deck while they are providing art for it. But I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for your crowdfunding. I'm sorry.
I feel like the crowdfunding is still at the core the same. It's similar. It's like, here's an engaging log line. Here's a what if situation. Wouldn't it be crazy if, this is what happened to me. This story is about me finding myself, or, whatever your story's about, and like getting your butt on all the social medias and putting it out there on, with the Kickstarter link, and I would have like a poppy image for what you want them to see in the thumbnail.
I think instinctually, my heart and head says also you don't have to get into as much story detail. Like in a pitch with a development exec, I would go from like premise to like characters to world to like here's the actual summary of the story. I don't think the general public needs all of that information. I don't know if the general public generally would have the correct follow-up questions if you gave them more information. So I think being brief and summarizing might be the better route to go.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this is, again, more instinctual, right, than actual experience or knowledge. But especially just like walking around on the floor and seeing the overwhelming amount of material downstairs here, like finding your niche too. So I remember I was at a panel where they were talking about a successfully kickstarted comic book that was a Bigfoot comic. And one of the things the guy had done is found a website that was dedicated to Bigfoot and get them to post about his Kickstarter on that website. So finding that fan base that is out there,
That could work.
So yeah, if you can find a niche that your material connects with, I think that helps bring people in. Because I also know, like my experience on some friends' experience, Kickstarter ends up being a way for your friends to give you some money to help you out with your project, rather than a real way to like get strangers to do it. But I also have a friend who raised $2 million for a board game on Kickstarter, so it can work.
When you did your recent pitch, did you go out with visuals?
I did. The way I use my visuals, though, is a little bit different than what other people do when they do a pitch deck. I look at it more as I want to keep you engaged in what I'm talking about, especially since I have so many characters in the story. So if you are showing them pictures of the characters as you're talking about them, it's like this happens, and then these two people fall in love, but these parents don't like that, and then and you keep showing them pictures so that they don't get lost in the names, and they have something to see.
The last thing I took out, which now died, but I got paid to develop it, was based on a book, so it was an adaptation, and the producers generated the pitch deck like in consultation with me, but they're like, hey, we have these images. I'm like, yeah, let's do these. And so while I'm telling the story, the producer, similar to what you're saying, is like click, 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 clicking through all the images so you can keep track of who's there. So I feel like, in a way, Zoom has been great because we can pitch and read from our decks, but also like, now you've got to build all this imagery, which of course you can use AR, but you don't want to. But there are these crazy intense expectations that all of these things they want it all to look the same. Like every pitch should have a visual component, and I mean, what do you want us to do, produce it for you? And pitch it to you? So it's crazy.
Yeah, I did have an animation director who I knew who wanted me to work with him to pitch an idea that he had, and I would be attached to write the script, and he's like, yeah, and build a visual design pitch deck. And I'm like, you're an animation director. Shouldn't you do that? Like, I'm a writer. That's not my area. So, yeah.
I think someone up here had a question. Did you have a question?
I did have a question, but it was kind of related to when you were talking about agents earlier. Because in my mind, you get an agent so that you get the opportunity for the pitch. So you're saying agents are more useless?
So the question is, are agents useless?
If agents are useless, and that's true, which this isn't the first panel I've heard that. So if that is the case, how do you get the opportunity for the pitch?
Well, first I'm going to say the purpose of an agent or a manager is to legitimize you. They're they're kind of like the gatekeepers that the execs want. The execs want somebody to say, yeah, this person's legitimately a good writer.
I can vouch for them.
Yeah. In terms of getting the opportunity, sometimes it can come through your agent, sometimes it can come through your manager. But nowadays, a lot of it is hustle. A lot of it is going out, meeting people, talking about having your elevator pitch, having your bite-sized pitch, and just doing the thing is what it is. It's like, I always say that getting a job is like 85% your material and 15% networking, but that 15% is going to take 50% of your time.
And also, do you have a rep right now? Okay. I was also say, like, everything up here is subjective. Everyone has different experiences, and not one person knows the only way to do it. And, you know, like, I haven't found, like, agents who really supported me and liked me, which is why I've gone through so many of them, which is why, again, subjective. Like, I'm not the agent person. There might be someone, I don't know if anyone that's on this panel, but, like, I've had friends who are like, oh, yeah, my agents, you know, like, we're hanging out and we're doing this. And I was like, they work for you. They're not your friends. But having said that, like, the people who you can't walk in the door and pitch to are studio and network executives, because they're afraid they'll get sued and stuff like that. An agent you can talk to, a producer you can talk to, like, go get them, because, like, they will take you to the studio gatekeepers, the network gatekeepers. But you can go up to an agent or manager and be like, hey, I wrote this thing, are you gonna read it? Excuse me, you know, you can read it, or you can hit up a producer and be like, I saw you produce this film, and I have a film that is different but and similar theme or whatever. Would you like to read it? You can do all that. They're dying to bring material to execs and get something up and running.
I think that's also worth piggybacking off of, just to say, like, I know as a fake extrovert, like, it sounds insane to just, like, go up to somebody and be like, I have an idea. But so much of this industry is that, and I think everybody who has made it to a certain point in their careers understands that. And so, like, my advice to a lot of younger people, like my cousin who wanted to break into games, I was like, this is the age to cold call people. You're 18, you're fresh faced, like, people want to give you a chance because they are where they're at because somebody gave them a chance. So even though it sounds ridiculous just going up to people, it actually does work. And it is sort of how this industry functions, is by networking and meeting people. Like, you hear networking and you're like, okay, got it. I just need to meet the next Christopher Nolan. Easy. No problem. But it truly actually means building a community so that as a lot of people are excelling in their careers, it's sort of happening at the same time, and they can remember you and give you connections. Like, it's truly, like, you'll never... My job, I like to describe as having, like, 20 spinning plates, and I don't know which one is going to actually, like, turn into something, but one of them will, and you have to have faith in that. And yeah, I go up, talk to people. The worst they can say is no. It's okay.
And thank you for finessing what I said, because I'm not like, hi, producer, read my script. It's, you know, it's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, you know, it's all about finessing the introduction and being, you know, like, being friendly, and it's not like palm out, gimme type of thing, but just kind of like, hey, you work in ideas, I work in ideas, you need my, like, in the back of your head. I'm not saying that to say that to them, but you want to kind of, like, commit to, like, I am a writer, I have good ideas, my ideas make money, so do you want to hear my idea? That type of, if I can give you that self-esteem to do that, which I did not have when I got started. Also, did anyone else grow up in a immigrant family where you're not supposed to ask for things? That's like a big obstacle, you know, when you come to a town where everything is gimme, you know?
I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but I think that's an important thing. We should probably do a panel on agents one day. But also, first of all, well, and that's the thing, is it's also very different, right? I mentioned I had to have 3 agents. My second agent, who had been in the business a very long time, loved to give notes, loved to, like, develop material with me, but that's unusual. That was just, like, he loved it, like, that he liked to do it. Usually that's your manager that does that kind of thing. So agents are different. And then also, you're asking about opportunities. They can come, like, the big agencies, well, everything's so freaking blowing up right now in Hollywood, but let's say the CAAs and the UTAs, like, they hear about the open writing assignments and start combing through their lists for who they can put up for that. So then they will, like, bring opportunities to you. But I think most people the opportunities come because through someone you've worked with or someone you've had a meeting with that read a script they really liked but didn't want to buy, but then now like, okay, so in a lot of times it's you getting that opportunity and the agent kind of facilitating that a little more than bringing it to you. So that may be something to consider when if you're in the luxury of deciding which agent to sign with, but good luck with that luxury. So, all right, so I see the 10-minute sign, so yes.
I'm sure there's many introverts also in this room. How do you actually make yourself do it despite being very, very maybe uncomfortable?
I think name the discomfort. It's okay to like once I got over this, like if I'm nervous in a pitch, like if I fumble over my words, if I just say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm a little nervous, and they're like, oh, okay, take your time. Like it truly is like trying to pretend that the anxiety wasn't there just compounded the anxiety and made it worse, but working with my anxiety and giving and letting them in on, hey, this is my process, hey, I'm nervous. Like suddenly that turned us into, oh, we're two people having a conversation. So I would encourage people to name their anxieties. My wife has very severe ADHD, and she has started to adapt this where if she loses her thought, she is very just being like, I'm so sorry, lost the thought, give me a second. But yeah, just being honest. So much of pitching is the story, but you're also pitching yourself, and I think exhibiting self-awareness like that is only helpful.
I tell this story often, and I'm a little embarrassed by it, but I've had one panic attack in my life, and it was in the middle of a pitch. So,
middle of it?
Middle of a pitch. Yeah, it was John Woo's company. This is actually going to make you feel better when I get done with it. So I'm doing the pitch, and I'm like halfway through, and I this is why I don't memorize anymore, the stage fright thing. Like I went down on the line and just got lost and started sweating and being like, I said, wait, I'm sorry, can I just stop and start over? And they were like, sure, don't have a heart attack in our office, please. They didn't say that last part, but
They
I could
don't want
see
you
it
to
in
do
the
that.
eyes. So,
They were worried.
yeah, and so then I just stopped, started over at the beginning, did the pitch, got in my car, my agent called me and said, oh, I just heard from them, they loved you. And I was like, did they mention the panic attack? He's like, what? And I was like, nothing, didn't happen, never happened. So so I think the kind of lesson from there, and Spiro kind of alluded to this, is like they're kind of on your side, right?
Yeah.
Like they want it to be good, they know it's hard.
And if you're getting in the room, that means somebody already says this person is good and this person is a good pitcher or this person is a good story. So like you should take like total comfort in that. Be like, all right, I'm going into a friendly room.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like they may not buy it, they may not like it, but like they want you to do a good job. So they really are hoping that you're going to do well. So you shouldn't feel like they're the enemy, even though they may be a gatekeeper. They're not the enemy, and that's what helps me to do that.
Yeah, they also want to make cool movies. It's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes you forget. Like I was just talking to a friend of mine who's an exec, and she was like, "I'm really bummed. Like 2 of my projects just died, and I was really excited about them, and we don't get to make anything." And you forget that like on the other side of the desk, or of the Zoom screen, there's someone who is equally as they didn't create your show maybe, but they're
their skill sets are different, but they also want to make something.
They want to make stuff. They do, and it's really frustrating for them as well when your show doesn't go forward or your pitch doesn't get picked up because they really liked it.
Okay, I see last question, and I see you right here.
So coming from out of town or out of state, I know personal connections are a big thing here. But you mentioned pitches are on Zoom now. What other barriers might I encounter other than not being available to meet for coffee that afternoon?
I mean, I think, sorry, I would just jump in. Like, I think the meeting for coffee thing is less important now because of everything's on Zoom. So the challenge, I think, is really about the networking piece of it, where, like, how do you meet people that are going to introduce you to someone else who's going to introduce you to an agent who's then going to help you out. So I think film festivals are everybody there loves films. There are certain ones that are better. Sundance, obviously. Austin is fantastic. South by is kind of really cool. New York Film Festival. So, like, if you go to film festivals, you can meet a bunch of people. And then, we have social media now, a great way to keep in touch. I have a friend who's a showrunner who they hired their writer's assistant, which is a great way into TV writing. because they were interacting with them on Twitter and the assistant was asking smart questions and was cool. And then when they got their show, their writing partners, they said, maybe we should ask that guy that's always hitting us up on Twitter if he wants to be the show or the assistant to the writer. So like, it's kind of easier than ever to do stuff remotely. So that shouldn't stop you.
I currently I'm attached to a pitch that has a writer who is in Minnesota, a producing partner, who is like his friend in New York, me in LA, and I think the other two producers, I haven't met them in person, I think they're in LA. But yeah, the pandemic, it was terrible for many reasons, but there is an element of like, now we can be widespread. I know a lot of friends who have moved out of LA but are still maintaining careers. Like, I think what Doug said about going to film festivals is excellent, because the Minnesota and New York guys are constantly going to festivals and meeting more people. Yeah.
I think that's a good point, because I have a friend who, she left LA before, this is way before the pandemic, and all of her managers were like, we're dumping you, your career's over, bye. But she's like no one even knows that I left LA. I still do the work. But now like people are like, okay, well you're going to be out of the city or out of the country. You're going to pitch from wherever, and that you can do that. It's just you have to work harder to make those connections
And maintain the connections, which is also not easy. So yeah.
So don't be an introvert.
Sorry. All right, I think we have to wrap up. So thank you all for coming. Thank you.